That was my father there. He was 19 in that picture. I'm Mike. How you doing? This is like a Palooka Watch Channel video, I suppose. I'm going to make a leather watch band today. I might make a couple of them. I threatened to do it. I've talked about it already. I've shown the bands after I've made them on a couple watches. I've got some examples here of some Seikos in front of you, which I'll be doing a video on separately after I make this band or two. They're pretty cool. I just kind of got into the Seiko dive watches, and I dig them. I dig on the history of them, and I picked this one up recently. This is from 1983. It's a 6309 movement. Some people call it a slim turtle. It's like the grandfather of the SKX. And I put this black strap on it. I was going to make a brown band for this because originally I made this strap for this watch, which is from 2000. This is an SKX 173. Pretty cool. Perfect condition. And anyhow, I decided because it had the orange face, I put the black band on it. I prefer the leather over the rubber. The rubber, it just does something to my wrist that I don't like. I get like a rash sometimes from it, and dirt gets under there, and it stinks and everything else. And people say about leather, but that doesn't happen to me with leather. So I guess we're all a little bit different. I would also prefer a bracelet like what you see on this watch, and this is from 1990. Again, this is pre-SKX, and yeah, I'll go over these watches in detail and describe the differences, a little bit about the movements and the configurations, the size of the cases, how the bezels work, the hands, the loom, all the really cool stuff, the little differences as they progressed to what we have now. And, this is a modern version of the Turtle. This one's from 2017. It's very beat up. But the original Turtle was the 6309 movement from like the late 70s, went into the 80s. And I'd like to have one of those, but they're kind of pricey. And of course, what we have here as well is the Willard copy, which, this was really from like 69. This is a modern version. This is, a little bit on the pricey side, this watch. And this one here is pretty recent. And I think it's 22 or something. I can't recall. But this is what, similar watch to what, same case size and everything to what Martin Sheen wore in Apocalypse Now. His character was Captain Willard, and that's why they call it the Captain Willard. And I'll do a video on all these another time, but I'm showing you this because the band, which I messed up a little bit, but it's okay. It lends to a cool look, and we're going to talk about that as I do this. This happens to be what is this? This is a bison, it's a water buffalo hide from Indonesia, and I've talked about the properties before, and we'll talk about it a little bit more maybe when I do the video on these watches. But I like it because it's nice thick leather. I line them with a calf skin. So what I've already done here is I've selected a piece of leather, and this is a scrap piece that I got from the guy that makes me my bison hide wide toe work boots. These things have changed my life. Also, I'm just thinking, because last night I was walking in these all night. I did a little bar crawl on Hollywood. We started on Melrose, went to Hollywood Boulevard with a couple pals, and I'm not a big drinker, but I'm sure I look a little haggard right now because I drank last night, boy howdy. And so here I am doing this now. So I'm going to do this in real time. Well, not real time, but I am going to time it. We're going to call this right now 11:15. And I already took some time to straighten up here a little bit and kind of find the pieces of leather I'm going to be using. I've got a giant calfskin hide, like it takes up the whole floor here. I cut this piece off. We're going to use this as the lining. And again, this is a piece here. I will say, when I first started making these, I was just making them out of the scraps that Chris sent me, and Chris from Broadwinger Boots. And, I didn't have an opinion on the leather necessarily. I was teaching myself how to do this. And I discovered that it doesn't matter too much because, you don't see a lot of it, This is 22 millimeters wide. It's about 3/4 of an inch. And it's just right. I mean, you see a little bit of pebbling on the leather here. And it's all you need to see. So don't go crazy trying to select the leather because you're looking at this big piece and you're looking at all the striations in the leather and everything. And you're thinking, oh, man, what's that going to look like? And once you get it together and you stitch it, you put it on the watch, you're looking at the watch. I mean, the band is cool, but I'm saying don't worry too much about it, okay? Now, as I do this, as I just mentioned, what's going to happen here is I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to show me doing it. Then I'm going to stop the camera. And I'm going to jump to the parts cut, right? Then I'm going to show you the next step. I'm going to perform it for you a little bit. Then I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to jump to the next step in an effort to keep this video as short as possible. Are you with me? What do you think about that? It's not a bad idea, right? Okay. Let's start. So I know that these watches, all these watches are 22 millimeter. Let's double check that. I don't always have to wear these, but I'm so tired right now that my eyes are a little tired. Just double check this. Let's see here. Yep, 22 millimeters. Okay, so what that means is now I can just go ahead and go for it. I don't have all my tools out, so I'm going to do this just the way I would do it if I was sitting here by myself, to give you guys an idea of what it's like. I know that this edge here should be pretty straight. It's straight enough. One of the things I want to mention is I've been playing with this. What I've been doing lately is I cut this piece to 22 millimeters, and then when I cut this piece, I cut it a little bit wider. This is the lining. And what that allows me to do is after I glue them together, and sometimes after I stitch, I can kind of trim the edge a little bit and get a nice clean cut. I've been toying with the idea of making this like a 24 millimeter and then cutting a millimeter off each side with the lining on it. It might be a better way to go. I don't know. See how that works out. I might. I don't think I'm going to do that right now, but in the future I plan on doing it. So I'm going to use a little scratch awl here. Everybody has a different technique. I'm not telling you that what I'm doing is how you should do it, but I'm just showing you what I do. One of the things about the pebbling is you have to find a place to mark it where you can see it, because it's a thing, man, sometimes. And I know that right here, a little dip. So I want to come back down this way a little bit. And where the 22 is going to hit, I want to make sure that it's high so I can see my scratch mark. Come down here. And again, I'm not a pro, man. I'm just winging it. There's a lot of guys that have done this far more than I have. And they're probably going to look at this. This is a rotary cutter. This blade might need to be changed here pretty soon. You'll also notice the height of this table. I made this surface for myself. It helps when I'm working on a watch. And this work surface that I made for myself has come in so handy. Now when I do this, I have to force this straight edge down. And then I'm making sure that I run this wheel tight to that steel rule so it doesn't walk on me. Looks okay. Now I tilted this blade a little bit. You want to try to hold the blade at 90 degrees. It's okay though, because I'll trim that after I glue the lining on. I'm going to cut 2 of these. I said I was going to stop the camera, but I'm not. You watch it again here. This piece of leather is scratching nicely. I can see what I'm doing. With that Indonesian water bison, it just does not. You can't see any of the scratches in it. It's a real problem. So in that case, in the future, I'll be using a white pencil to see what I'm doing. And it's good to go slow, you know. And then you want to pick up your watch and see where you're at. That's not bad. Ooh, I'm a little narrow there. And down here I'm a little bit fatter. That happens. I'd rather have a little fatter and then trim it later. Keep your mind out of the gutters here, people. Yeah, I'm a little big, but that's good. Like I said, I'll trim that after I get the lining on it. Now, the next thing, I'll be reaching for this. I just don't want to keep it up here. The next thing is deciding the length. And there's guys out there, they make these bands and they're making them for everybody, and they have a system, they got templates, everything else. I don't have a lot of templates. I have made some templates in the past for the watch. I should have had one out to show you, but I think I have a piece of it right here. I was making those Bund watch things, and so I cut shapes like this, and I have made templates. A lot of them are hard plastic, and it's great because I can lay this on the leather and use that rotary cutter and use this as a guide, and that's worked out pretty well for me in the past. So I'll be using those again in the future when I make that. But what I've learned is that for me personally, it's moving. This is a heavy watch here. I've got this. This is a great. Everybody loves this watch. This is a real nice piece of American Bison, and this is only a 20 millimeter lug width, which is a little bit odd because I mean, if you look, this watch here is a lot larger, right, than the SKX, and the SKX has a 22 millimeter. But the way the original band was, that the band was wider and then it steps in between the lugs. So I am going to make another band for this that does that, and it's going to be an experiment. I'm going to end up doing that with a couple. Matter of fact, I want to do that with this one as well. This is a 20 millimeter lug width. I want to do the same thing. I want to make it wider. This looks a little bit dainty. Although I don't mind it that much with this watch because this watch has a dressier vibe. You know, let's put this one on for a bit. We'll do a little watch modeling for you too, although it's probably not the best angle for that. You'll also notice this one I have a leather keeper. What I wanted to get at is this. I like to clock the watch more inboard on my wrist. I did a whole video on this already. And to do that, you want to make the buckle side longer than on your average wristwatch. This is what I've learned. So that's what we're going to do on this one. On this one, I might make it a little extra long as an experiment. And eventually, once I nail this exact, then I will take some measurements and write it down and know exactly what I'm doing. Because right now, I'm still in the experimental phase. I love this watch. This band turned out so well. It's amazing. And I'll have 1 to 2 holes. Your wrist adjusts depending on the temperature. When it's hot out, your wrist is bigger. And when it's cooler, your wrist is a little smaller. I have this metal catch here. It's a little difficult sometimes. So there we have that. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to use these as a guide. Now, one of the things that's going to happen here is you have to roll this over on both ends where the one side is going to go through the spring bar, right, between the lugs, and the other side, right, it's got to capture the buckle. Of course, on this end, you only have to do one of these. And when you do that, you have to guesstimate your length here. What I've learned is I want this to fold over quite a bit to make sure that my stitching is going to hold it down. I had one time I didn't do it well enough. I had it too short, and it was the buckle end, and I sold it to a guy, and it pulled out on him. So fortunately, I had the same exact piece of leather, and I just made him another one and sent it to him. He's able to put it on his watch and everything was fine. So now I make sure I do that. Now, you see how thick that is? Obviously, you can't do that. So you do this technique called skiving. And I use 2 different skiving knives for different reasons. You'll see how I work it. And you're going to want to thin that leather down so that when it folds over itself, this point right here where it's folded over is roughly the same thickness as this. All right? And then you're going to end up gluing some of this thinner leather across the back as the lining, as you see here. I hope this is all focusing. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to go ahead and just start doing that here and showing you that a little bit. And then I'm going to stop the camera and jump to the next thing. One of the things is this, like you'll see these professional leather guys where they've got a piece of glass or a piece of granite to skive on, which is always a good idea. I don't have that. What I'm using here is a reproduction of a World War II signal mirror. It's just right. And because it's tiny, and this is the only space I need. What I need to make is a piece of wood that has a block on it here that'll lock up to the work surface, and has a block here so this doesn't move, so that when I start skiving, I can do this, and I don't have to worry about holding this down. So what you're watching me do right now, a lot of guys are going to be like, what are you doing? It'd be so much better if you didn't do that. you're not wrong. But this is just how I'm doing it right now. Let's just, where's the watch? Make sure I'm taking the right end here. Yeah, I can trim that after the fact, so we're good. And sometimes I'll do this for speed here because it'll remove the material faster and safer. And you have to learn how to sharpen this stuff as well. I've been playing with this. So I'll jump to this one here real quick. And this is a touch. You have to learn this. You have to learn the tool and how you have to cut. And you have to read the leather because it's funny, you know, it kind of changes color. You can see it. If you look at the grain structure of the leather, you know, I could try to explain it to you, but once you start doing this yourself, you're going to understand what I'm doing here. The other thing on this is, what I like to do is take the watch itself and try to, I'll get it thin enough to where it'll fit between the spring bar and the case. And I don't want to go any thinner than that because I want this piece of leather that wraps around the spring bar to be as thick as possible. Just in that area where it bends. Beyond that, I want that to be a little bit thinner. But you have to get the spot, you have to get the thickness right for the space between the case and the spring bar first. Then you can thin the end beyond that. I think just this end is a little bit too thick here. I'll show you real quick how I sharpen this because it's real simple. I've got a 1000 grit sandpaper here, and I will, of course, I've been sharpening chisels for woodworking for years this way, and you just get that angle and you hold it, and you know, with this it's already honed, so I don't have to go super crazy. I just have to tune it. And then I'm going to keep this on the flat. I mean, and that's all you need. And you just have to keep doing that as you're using it. You don't have to go super crazy with this. You will figure it out. And I'm not trying to dig in and cut super deep here. I'm literally just shaving this. Shaving it a little bit. Because if you take too much off, you got to start all over. We get this little raise here. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim that right here on the mat. Now let's test fit it on the watch. Now, there we go. That's pretty good. Okay. So it's good. Now where the bend is, you see how much I'm giving here? That's like a solid 1/2 inch to 5/8 of an inch of a fold over. From this point out, I'm going to thin that up a little bit more. Right? This part here is going to get a little bit thinner. Now, I don't always do this because I'm usually just doing this by myself. I'm going to go ahead and put a little mark on this just for the hell of it. And that's why, this way I know where that bend is, and I know that I don't want to go much thinner right there. No, that's not true. I'm going to take more of this off. I'm lying. Because I can see that it ramps quite a bit there. So I want to take a little bit more of this off here. Okay, that's good. Now from here on, I'm going to thin this up a little bit more. It's going to glue down to itself here. We're looking pretty good. Take that down a little bit more. Because there's going to be basically 3 layers at this, where this matches up to itself. Because we got 1, 2, 3. So it can't get super thick there, right? Everything has to be, maintain a relatively even thickness across the strap here. you can see here, even here, this is a little bit thinner than the band is here. So if you wanted to be nitpicky, you could say, I almost messed up by making that too thin right there. Plenty strong. There's plenty of stitching on this. And bison hide, by the way, is a lot stronger than regular cow leather. It's a lot stronger than a lot of other leathers. And it holds up to water very well as well. So, I mean, you could swim with this and everything else. I've done it. You won't have that many problems. And you can treat it. So if it starts getting dry, put some leather dressing on it. You'll be golden. The bands I'm making are heirloom quality bands. I'm not telling you the best there is. There's plenty of people out there that do way better than I do. I think this is going to look great. The brown band with the black watch face. I think that's going to be a good choice. And I know it's going to work with the turtle with the blue, because brown and blue works very well together. So I'm excited about that look. Okay, we're pretty good here. All I want to do now is there's a step here. So I just want to feather that to like, almost like the edge of this skiving knife here. Something kind of similar to that, so that it lays perfectly flat right there. So we're just ramping this down now. And I'll do this from both directions because I want to keep it. You have to be careful with this because you're basically just trying to leave the thinnest bit of the front part of the leather. And from time to time, I get it where it's too thin, and then I have to trim this back. And so I want to avoid that. And that's just a touch. It's something you have to learn. This is a learn by doing process. No other way. You can read all the books you want. You can watch all the videos, but until you have the materials in your hand and you're actually doing it, you don't know anything. A lot of experts out there on all kinds of subjects that they've never done. We know who those people are. Be careful with this. Treat this with respect because it's very easy to cut yourself. I'll probably do that in this video. I'm seeing the reflection of my father look down at me here in this in the mirror. Okay, Dad. My dad was an artist, but he was a cake decorator. He was a great baker. He did everything. But his cake decorating abilities were pretty, second to none. Art can be found in anything. You can apply the idea of art. You can turn anything into art. I just did it on a ceiling, patching a ceiling recently. So I guess it starts with taking pride in what you do. All right, this is probably good enough. Let's not go super crazy. So I always start with one end. I know where I'm going with this. It's going to be right here. It's going to be perfect now. That's going to lay flat. It puts me exactly where I want to be. It's beautiful. All right, now let's make a decision here. Let's make this one the buckle end, okay? And I'm just going to see. I don't even know which one of these is longer. Probably that one. Yep. So we're going to use this as a guide, and we're going to go even a little bit longer than this one. And it is slightly a guesstimation, so what I'll end up doing is I'll do the same thing in the spot that I think I need to do it in, and I'll fold it over, and I'll see where we're at, and then I'll probably start shortening it until I get it to exactly where I want it to be. But for now, we're going to roughly roll this over. And I want to go that much longer. Not by much. 1/4 of an inch is probably enough. And then I'm going to use a pen. This is my first time doing this. Usually I scratch it, but we're just going to use a pen. It's just easier to see. Let's not make I'm going to go a little bit longer than I need to on the cutoff. And the beauty of this now is I've got this piece of leather left. That's plenty of leather to make a keeper out of. Of course, the other strap is plenty long too, so we'll see how that works out. When I say keeper, I mean this part here, and we'll get to that. But you'll see on this here in the video, I hope this is in focus, you should be able to see how thin that is. So you have to skive that piece down thin enough, because if you try to use the same thickness for the keeper, it just gets friggin' massive down there, and you can't have that. All right. Normally, when you watch these videos, nobody's talking. It's just a shot down. They're showing you what they're doing, and I love those videos, but I like explaining a little bit of the technique for you, because this is me doing it in a way that you should be able to watch this video and then get yourself some material and then try to do it yourself. I'm giving you that much information. And I always keep looking at it because it looks short when I'm holding it here. So I always want to compare it to what I've got there. I like this pen for making marks. It's a pretty cool thing. You'd be like, duh, why didn't you do that before? All right. What am I doing here? I got to make that holder. I only just came up with that idea earlier this morning. I was like, I got to make one of those to register this piece of glass, because I'm holding it down with pressure with these fingers while I'm holding the leather down, while I'm doing, which is not what you should be doing. A lot of people would do this. They'd slice their friggin' finger off. But because I've been doing this for so long, when I say this, I don't mean making leather bands. I mean working with tools and sharp tools. I feel pretty confident. And this is murder on me, by the way, because normally I would be listening to music and not my own voice. I don't like listening to myself talk. Might seem like that to some of you, but I really don't. When I'm listening to music or a podcast, I can get lost in that, and I feel like the time goes faster. So right now, this is going to seem like it's taken a lot longer to me. I haven't stopped the camera yet because I'm showing you this process. Once I get this to where I want it to be, I'm going to shut the camera off, move on to the next one, and then I'll turn the camera back on when I'm cutting and gluing the lining on. I need a thing. I need a thing here where I can go like this to get the leather off the scrap leather, the shavings. If I could do this and then so I'm learning these things for efficiency and speed. The biggest thing, most important thing I've done so far that's helped my productivity has been making this work surface. And of course, the modifications I've done to the press, which you can probably see in the background, you're going to see more of in a moment. And it's just, you know, we'll talk about that when we get to it. But it's, you know, now I'm at a point where I can do this and get it done a lot quicker here. It's going to take hours to get this job done. So that's another reason why I want you guys to see what I'm doing. Because some people do want me to make these for them. And, you know, you have to understand why it's going to cost what it's going to cost. It's because the amount of time you have to put into this, you know. You know? All right, let's get this a little thinner up here. You cannot underestimate the how important it is to have an area set up where you can efficiently work. And this here, it's like when you do a wall, you want to touch it with your hands. That's where you're going to feel everything. And that's what I'm feeling right here. I know that I'm a little high right here. Your fingertips are going to tell you a lot more than your eyeballs will. Use all your senses. I think I just inhaled some leather. I did snuff like the 18th century there. All right, I now have bison hide in my DNA. Okay. Ooh, this is looking good. Now I'm a little fat here, but that's okay. I'll trim that after I sew everything together. Yeah, that's feeling pretty good there. A little on the thick side, but that's okay. Now let's double check our length, see where we're at. I don't mind this being longer. I have enough leather here where if I want to if I mess up and I make this a little bit too long, I can make another one. But I think that this looks pretty good to me. Okay, so we're going to mark this. We're going to thin it a hair from that point, so when this folds over again, you know, we get that thickness down to where this one is on this end. And I don't know which side on this yet is going to be the buckle and which side is going to be the let's start with this here. I'm not looking to take too much off here, so. And you see me, I'm doing this, I'm slicing, I'm not forcing. If you're going to force it, you're going to go crazy and you're going to screw something up. So I just slice through. Like you're slicing meat, which you are. You're basically, that's what you're doing. You're slicing hide here. I'm just evening this out. And, oh yeah, look at that. I feel like we're pretty good here. Oh yeah, it's exactly where I want it to be. All right, so that's pretty good. That is pretty good. I'm going to do this to one end on this next. Okay. Then I'm going to adjust my length. I'm going to keep it long. I'm going to trim that. Then I'm going to get back to you when I'm doing the linings, all right? So don't go anywhere. It's going to get even more interesting, I promise. Say hi to my dad upside down there. All right. So those two things are skived down. I'm ready to glue those foldovers. That's the next step. And I wanted to point out, like you'll see when you watch these videos, people doing watch bands or any kind of leather craft, they'll show tools that they're buying. So people spend money on glue spreaders, but I cut this off of a fast food container and made it. So you don't have to spend money. You can make a lot of your own tools. And when I roll this over, you're going to see I've got a skewer. I'll use this sometimes. It kind of depends. Like the Seiko spring bars are a lot fatter than standard spring bars. So this is a pretty good. I also have a spoke here that I use for all kinds of things, poking things out, cleaning things out. And this is, a little bit thinner. Boy, it is pretty close to about the right size as that spring bar too. So I'll use either or. And this is nice because you can clean it off a lot easier. But you'll see this right now. So I'm using this leather cement. And I'm eyeballing everything. And it works pretty well. It's not a... what do you call it here? I've got some contact cement. I bought this, but I never used it. It'll stink up the whole joint. But if you have a shop that's outside your apartment, you might want to go for this because you put it on both sides, you let it get almost dry, put it down, and it sticks. It's pretty good stuff. But it's a little caustic, and like I said, it smells, and you're going to get a buzz off of it, and it's going to screw you up. So this stuff here is awesome. It works, but it takes a little bit longer to set up. So I'll do one to show you how I do it, and then that'll be enough for you. A little dab here, a little dab on this side. Might need a little more. And then I just, so I try to avoid where the spring bar is going to go for the most part. I just want to make sure that I like to do this a little bit because I want to make sure that I'm getting the glue into the fibers of the leather. Maybe you don't need to. Maybe I'm imagining things, but call me crazy. When you fold this over, you're going to get some squeeze out as well. I should have a paper towel here, and I don't. So, you live, you learn. You'll figure it out. But you want to make sure you get all the way out to these little corners because you want that to stick. It's even more important on the buckle side. Of course, again, we don't know which side is going to be the buckle side yet. So just like to make sure I've got this well covered here. Looks pretty good. I'll perch this up on something here. And that's it. And you want to try to make sure this is pretty much 90 degrees up here. You give it a couple seconds, and then you can wipe off this excess that's squeezed out on you. I got a couple more little tricks here. Wish I was more prepared. Do have a rag right here. You want to make sure you're wiping this off the mat as quick as possible too. I'll spin the rod here a little bit. I'm using my fingernail. So you'll notice that, I mean, obviously the rough side is up. This side's going to get lined. And I want to make sure that the front side is flat and then rounds over, but that I have a high spot on the back side, because that's what I'll butt the lining up to. All right. Pretty good shape here. Spin that around. I don't mind making it a little bit tight because I know the spring bar is a little bit thinner. I'm moving this back and forth on purpose and spinning it, because with the glue on there, it kind of burnishes the inside of that rough leather just a hair, I believe. Let's leave that in there for a moment. And I've got a roller here. I picked this up at a swap meet. I picked up a few of them. They were so cheap, and they come in handy for so many things. And this is a perfect example. Now, this is enough pressure here. Do a good job. So that's it. So I'll go ahead and continue that with the other two on the other band, but we see this here now. All right. Yeah, that is pretty good. And you see, it's like a P, right? So it's flat here, and it jumps out there, and that's nice because when I do my lining, like I said, it'll butt here. I hope I can see better. All right, I hope you guys can see this. But I don't feel like I need to show you every little detail, because I think most of you that watch this channel are smarter than the people that watch the other channels. I've got the best subscribers. All right, don't go anywhere. I'm going to continue here. Same thing now with this piece. All right, so I've got my lining pieces cut, and they're a little wider than they need to be. I wanted to point out that this stuff stretches, and so when I cut these, I cut this a little bit short, because I know when I glue it down and I roll it, it's going to stretch wider, and it'll fit the spot perfectly. And I'm not going to show you all that because I'm trying to keep the video short, but I'll show you this after it's glued down. And I'll trim it while I'm talking, and then the next step will be setting up the press over here and yeah, getting ready to stitch. Oh, by the way, we're an hour into this so far. All right, so you can see I went over on this. I'm going to trim that next, but this worked out great. That's what we're looking at. Got a neighbor outside with their car playing their music too loud. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I apologize. So I eyeball this. One of the things I wanted to point out when I was doing this, and I haven't mentioned it yet, is I've watched a lot of people make bands, and like everything's super precise to the point when it's done, it almost looks like a machine made everything, and I'm against that personally. My thing is making things look like they were made by hand, which means I don't care about it being super perfect. That's why I freehand a lot of stuff and just eyeball it. So it's just my way. I'm actually using the top piece of leather to trim the bottom piece here. And then later I might have to come back and trim it a little bit more, but that's okay. Stand up here. Yep, I went on an angle there, which wasn't good. And I cut into this band here just a hair, and I'm hoping I can repair that, but it's right there. But we'll get that right. There's little tricky tricks. I hope I can salvage that. That would be a bummer. It's a lot of work, but it's okay. Just eyeballing it. There we go. I went off on a little bit of a divot there, but I'll fix that. Not a big deal. I know I'm too fat here anyhow, so I'll end up putting a straight edge on it and figuring it all out. But I don't need, you don't need to watch all of that because it just, wastes time on the video here. So I had cut that leather originally on an angle a little bit, so I'll have to straighten that out. It's okay, but it is okay. It is A-okay. What I'm really doing here is I'm eyeballing the dark leather on the top here and trying to cut along that line. At approximately 90 degrees, and that's a lot neater looking now. And I'm pretty certain that both of these pieces are a little bit thicker than they need to be. Like, you know, they're wider than 22 millimeters. So, all right, it's looking pretty good here. Looking pretty good. Because the next thing is going to be, once I get this right, I'll test. Oh yeah, I'm definitely wide. So I've got plenty of room here to fix this. My next thing is also to pick a buckle. Oh, this one here is perfect right there. So I'll try to hide this with something. That's a bummer that I went on that angle a little bit, but it's okay. I mean, if you make a mistake, the beauty is you just make another one. It's not that big of a deal. And, you know, okay, let's say that cut right there is too much. Okay, I'll make another one of these, and then because this is 22 millimeters, I could trim this to 20 millimeters, and it'll work on another watch. And 20 millimeters lug width is pretty common for most watches. But I'm going to continue with this one anyhow. Okay, my next thing is I got to trim this to the 22 millimeters and make sure it's going to fit between the lugs on both sides. Not that it matters on both sides, but the other side is going to hold a buckle that it's also going to be a 22 millimeter. And I'm pretty sure I've shown you this before, but I've got all of these containers of buckles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all pretty well organized. These were buckles that Mike at Majestic WJ gave me. He wanted me to take all of his buckles. I brought them home, and then I went through them, and I kept the ones that I might use one day. Like, so they're basically the sizes. And these are all kind of they're different categories. So I'm just saying, I got to figure out which one are the fat buckles, and I think this is the one. And then pick a buckle that I'm going to want to use for this particular band. But I'm just showing you these so you understand. I got plenty to go through here. And I've handled every buckle. Every one of these buckles has been in my hands. I've kind of cut off the old band parts to them and wiped them up and made sure that they're all set up correctly and everything else. So there's no junk here. So let me do that. And, you know, we're at an hour and a half or an hour and 15 minutes right now. And even with my talking, if I was just working by myself and listening to music, it's still accurate on time here because I didn't put in all the time it took me to select the leather and everything else in the beginning when I was talking to you guys. All right, so I just spent 10 minutes taking my time and trimming these nicely down perfectly to 22 millimeters. So they're going to work. Next thing, I'm going to set up the press and show you how I mark my lines and everything else. All right, just want to show you guys something here. I broke this pricking iron here when I had it in the press and I was trying to do a super thick piece of leather when I was doing this holster. Because I'd force it through the super thick part here and it wouldn't separate. So I was using a hammer to knock it down and I busted this off. But it works out. If I lay this on the leather and I eyeball it side to side here, it's pretty good spacing. All right. So what I'll do here is I'll take this and I'll lay this on here. Excuse me. Let's do this one. It's flatter. And then I'll set my caliper to the point here from the edge. And I'll make sure it's even on both sides. You'll see a lot of people doing things sometimes where they're measuring everything. It's a waste of time. Just do this and you'll get it pretty good. Excuse me. If you stop hitting it with your fingers, knocking it around. Good here. And that's pretty close. So, and you guys have seen this in other videos if you've watched it before. Now, something I do is I stitch across the top here. You can't even see it on this one. It's going to be very hard. Well, you can see it here. I put a stitch. Most of the bands that you buy that are store-bought, the ones you get off Amazon or whatever, there's a stitching line on each side, and it stops right there. But what I do is I put a stitch across here as well, which is it's a lot stronger that way. Okay? And a lot of people don't do that, and the reason they don't do it that I've learned is because I've done this where I've messed up in a way. If you don't get that exactly perfect where those holes line up with the sides, it can look real crappy. So you just want to be diligent about that. Excuse me. I'm going to go ahead and mark this band here, and I'm not going to go all the way up to where I need to because I'm going to make that determination on the press. Now, one thing you can call it a mistake, but I'm going to try to nail it on this one, is sometimes that line right here isn't equal from here to here on both sides. It doesn't bother me that much. Again, it's one of those things that gives you that handmade look. But I think you want to be careful about purposefully trying to do things not perfect because you run the risk of it just looking hacky in a way. So do it pretty much to the best of your ability while at the same time not caring about it too much, if that makes sense. Because you'll end up with little slight imperfections that it gives it the handmade look that just looks so cool. All right, so the other thing I haven't done yet, I'm jumping a step. Look at this, I caught myself. I will get to that, but what I really need to do now is I need to put the buckle on this, I need to mount it to the watch, and I need to put it on and mark how long this is going to be so I can trim this end. Then I have to mark it with this before I start putting holes in it. So let's just do that right now. Almost forgot. So we will do this for you. It's going to be a long video. I apologize. Let's do it this way. It's hot in here. These lights are hot. Trying to determine which side I want to put the buckle on. I'm going to put it's a little fatter on this side, so I'm going to put that up against the watch. So we're going to put the buckle on this side. I'm just going to find center on here, which I know is 10 and 10, 11 and 11 is 22. It's kind of important to nail that. I eyeball a lot, and sometimes when I eyeball something, it's off, and that's not cool. You don't notice it too much, but it bothers me when I notice it. Am I talking out of both sides of my face here? Probably. Now this is going to be an issue. This is a flat bar here that pokes through on this buckle. So I need to use a punch that it'll poke through, but I'm nervous about too large of a hole. Nobody likes a hole that's too big. You know what I'm saying? You don't want it too big. You want the Goldilocks zone of a hole. This one might be too big, but we'll see. I'm hoping I could force this through. I could trim it after the fact. Where's my hammer? There's a light bulb. You need a light bulb? There's just shit everywhere here. Okay, let's yeah, I'm doing this right. Sometimes I forget to use this mat. You know, this mat is specifically for punching. All right, I'll trim this here a little bit. If it's a little bit snug, it's okay, because I'll wear it through. I can trim it a little bit more. Okay, I'll make it better when I fine tune it, you know, after the fact here, but you know, I've got this super precise heavy duty tool here. The scissors on my Swiss Army knife probably be perfect for this. And it is. Looky there. Now I'll come through here later with another tool to these little roundovers here, which I'll be doing on the band here after I punch the holes and stitch it. And that takes the edge down. Although this, you know, this bison hide is a little weird with it. It's a problem sometimes. I'm just taking the smallest amount of material off here. Because again, nobody wants a big hole. All right, let's put this away. Now I need is it up here? Here it is. Ooh, my Bergeron here. Take this apart. Whoops. Okay, it's in there. So that, again, this isn't dressed yet, but that looks pretty good. Then we'll take the watch, and the buckle always goes on at the 12 o'clock. Oops. Ah, bummer. These older ones do not have drilled lugs, which makes it a little bit more complicated than it needs to be, but it's fine. Let's do it this way. This leather is, you know, like you saw me fit this. It's pretty thick, so it's going to be a little bit of a finagle job to get this. I might have to force the pin into the spot a little bit. There we go. Oh my God. I put it on. I put it on upside down. The R. So this one is a little snug, but that's fine. Now we have to put this end on. You'll see what I'm doing here. And this is a thing. This is I was thinking about, like, if you asked me to make you one of these, I would need your wrist size and everything, and I would need kind of the size here, the length of the watch. But I was thinking maybe I can buy these punches. Like, let's say I figure out the size punch I need, and I could buy one of them individually. And maybe I can buy 10 of them the same size. I would consider including a punch and sending it to you so you could do what you're about to see me do. All right, here. You might as well just glue it together. It hasn't even been stitched yet. Right in there. Okay. Oh boy, look at the brown with the black face. Oh, that does look beautiful, man. You know how good this is going to look when it's done. Now we find out if I went too long on this strap here. No, it's perfect. I like that. That's exactly where I want it, because I want to clock my watch inboard a little bit. So what I'm doing now is I'm just pulling it, right where here. It's pretty comfortable if I do that. Right? And now I'm going to take my punch here, my little awl. You have to be careful, you don't want to make it too tight, but put a little mark right there. Now I know I can punch a hole. Now, if I get it perfect, I got one hole. I'm golden. That felt, we'll see. It's probably going to be slightly loose, which is fine, because then I'll make it one more hole, about 1/8 of an inch up for the tighter spot when it's cooler out and your wrist is a little bit smaller. Of course, I screwed up. I should have kept that punch out. Darn. So now we got to select the right size hole punch again. I think this is correct. I think this will be okay. And we're going to, we want a tight fit here, because again, that's not round. It always looks larger when you first do it, because this is rammed, chamfered, so it'll shrink up a hair. Let's see what this looks like here. Still a lot more work to do. And we're coming up on 1 hour and 45 minutes now. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Just knocking stuff over down here. So that's a pretty cool, it's a good fit right there. There's going to be a little more room taken up when I put the keeper on. Now, all of that right there. So what I want to do is I want to select a length that's just right. And I like using this pen. You know why I like using this pen? Because it's got my name on it. Let's see here. We'll pull it to here. That looks about right. I can always trim it down later. Well, not after I sew it, but let's pick a spot. Let's just, I know what my keeper is going to look like. All right. I'm going to cut that much off. It's funny because I end up with a lot of these pieces that get cut off. And I save them because little things like this could come in handy for all sorts of things that you just don't even know yet. Like a little bump stop on a door or something. Like it seems like a usable object to me. And so I hold on to them. Now, I don't think I've done the same exact end the same way ever. I'm always doing something different. Like this one, pretty well, square across the top, rounded on the sides. I like this a lot where I do it a little bit on an angle. This one here is more of a pin, It's like surfboard tails, although I don't think you'd ever see that on a surfboard. So, and I don't really think too much about it when I do it. I just pick it up and I start cutting, and I let the chips fall where they may, Well, we're going to need this, so let's leave that out. Let's put this away. I'm going to get to a point here where I have some stuff up here that just kind of looks cool that I don't need here. It's going to go away, and a lot of the tools will kind of have a place to make that, but I do like putting them away completely because this is my living room, so I don't need this stuff out all the time. Put my watches over here for the moment. Let's put this the way. I'm not punching any more holes, so I can put this away. And let's see what the universe is going to tell me to do here. So we will put this on a line here, and I think the beauty of the asymmetric is you don't have to worry about it. You just do it. So let's just do that. Let's just cut on an angle here. If you try to get it exactly perfect, you know, sometimes you just mess it up, man. So we're going to do this. We're going to cut an angle. And we're going to take this corner off here. And that looks cool. And now I'm just going to, boy, I hope I did that right. It looks so short already. It's so easy to screw up, man. I've done that before. I mean, I've made it a little too short, but, you know, I still wear it. Yeah, see, I should have made the mark longer because you see how far back that comes. But that's still plenty. Again, this is for me, custom. So I'll have enough room from this point right here to here for a keeper. The rule of thumb for me is the keeper should be about the same thickness as the band. And I've got exactly enough room there. So now, boy, that feels good. The thickness of this leather just feels so good. I'm so excited to get this done and wear it. Now I'm just going to a lot more work is going to happen on this with this emery board. You want some sort of point here because it just makes putting the watch on easier. Yeah, that's looking pretty good there. Let's take this here and there's going to be a lot more work with this later. It's going to be a long, long video. It's Gumby. It's a Gumby. Ooh, that's cool. The Gumby head. I just came up with what maybe somebody else has called it that already, but I think that's what we're going to call this from now on. The Gumby end. The Gumby watch strap end. All right. I make the keeper after I do all my stitching and everything. So this video is going to be 2 hours long. There we go. So yeah, gotta make the keeper, but we're gonna stitch next. Oh God, that looks good. Oh God, how doesn't that look awesome? Holy Toledo, man. Oh, every time I do something, it's my new favorite thing. It's just, I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you don't have the same elation that you see me having when you make something, you shouldn't be doing it. If you don't impress yourself, get better. Is this even on me? I'm just saying, just a lesson in life. You should learn how to impress yourself. All right, let's take this off, make my lines, and then get the press out and prick some holes. Okay, next step is to scribe some lines on the strap here that we will then follow with the pricking iron, which I'll show you all that in a moment. And again, I'm not going to go up, well, you know, we might as well just do this right. Let's stop screwing around. Stop screwing around, Mike. I remember now when I folded this over, I went pretty far. So the fold over goes that far back, right? Which means anywhere between that point and this point, I can put the stitching line. Okay, so let's just hold this at the end here. And this is telling me that if I go from the end, yeah, screw it. Well, gosh, it's a weird thing in my mind. I like to bring the stitch line as close to this edge as possible. And what happens is sometimes you just end up missing, like I did here, like on this band. I stitch it across here. I don't know if you guys can see that, if it focuses. But on the back side, you can see I missed it. Doesn't matter because the side lines go all the way up and it's fine. It's not going to ever pull out. But visually, when you flip the watch over, you know, you want that to look good. So let's just see here. We're going to, that is, well, that'll work. Screw it. 10 centimeters. Well, 1 centimeter, 10 millimeters. Should still keep, let's just measure it on all of them. Make sure that that's still going to catch. Barely right there. I never did this before. I never took the time to measure. So I always just eyeball it and then let the chips fall where they may. Well, that one works pretty good. Yeah. We're close on this one, but we're going to do it. So, how am I going to mark this? I don't want to scratch it. I know what we're going to do. I threatened to do this before. Here is a white pencil. And I think what we'll do here, where's the emery board? Glasses are not helping me. Oh, you know what? It's right here. How many people you were screaming through the lens? It's right in front of you, dude. It's right in front of you. Look down. Look down. What are you doing? Okay, we're going to sharpen this pencil to a little bit of a fine point here. Finer. Now I need the spectacles. And now we're going to push this down and we're going to move this over. And I'm going to place this right here. Oh, that's a good idea. Wait a second. Wait a second. I think I just learned. No, that's not right. Bear with me. So we're going to go right to here. That looks like I'll barely catch it on that side. So that's what I'm going to do. Yep. At least now it'll look a little bit more even. I'm definitely going to catch that. Okay. Now. Okay. I might as well go through the process of setting this up because you guys haven't... This is my stitching pony. Little portable one here. I've never shown you guys... I've done a video of when I modified this, but I don't think I've done it anything where I've set it up for you. Oh, almost forgot. I'm going to do this first. Now I have those points. I can start and stop there. So I'm just going to drag this along here. It's okay if you go past it a little bit because this is just an indentation in the leather. It's not a scratch. Hope that's focusing for you. So that'll give me a line, relatively straight line, to put the pricking iron down. Of course, this band is a little off right here, and it followed that. So when I'm pressing, I'll have to eyeball that. Now this is, you know, it's not tricky, but we have to go around the Gumby head here, right? So we're going to eyeball this here. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting this along the edge and I'm forcing down and I'm just dragging this with some pressure. If I was going to be a pro with this, I'd put the camera up on this mount I have and I'd be shooting straight down. But, you know, maybe one day I'll do a video where I don't speak at all and I just do that. But in this video, I'm trying to explain some of the nuance, you know, talking about some of the tools I make and how I'm applying these things and how I'm doing it, so you understand. I guess I'm a pretty decent teacher. You know, I've taught people how to do things before. And it is something they do kind of teach you in the military, is how to be clear and teach people how to do things. I once knew a guy, he was older than me. I was pretty young. I was like 24. It's my buddy's brother at the time, and he had had a stroke. And we all went on a camping trip, and he lost the ability to remember how to do anything. And I should have had him throw a football. You know, just all the body mechanics, from your foot placement to using your core to keeping your upper arm parallel to the deck to bringing the ball back and rolling it out and rolling it off your fingertips and everything. And he did everything exactly the way I told him. And he was so elated about it. He was so happy. He's like, dude, you're a great teacher. So breaking things down to these steps, it's important if you want to understand how to do something. When you watch the video, like all the watch videos, leathercraft watch band videos I've watched so far, they're not talking about that. I think that a lot of these people are Asian guys, and they're just shooting straight down. And, well, I'll keep this out. And they're not talking, they're just working. And so you watch what they're doing, but there's no nuance there. So you know what the steps are, which was great. I learned how to do that, but I had to learn all these other things myself by doing. So, okay, this thing is heavy. So here's the press, and I think you guys can see this. I hope you can. I'll just show you here. I've got magnets up here. For the wrenches. I've got a bunch of different set screws here. I've got magnets on the other side for the other tools, like where I put the pricking irons and everything. So it's all attached. I might have to adjust some lighting here. We're in pretty good shape. So I know I want to use this pricking iron here. So we are going to grab this. I've got a set screw. Now, I'll link either in the description or at the end of this video, and probably in the description for sure, the videos where I modified this. This is the Harbor Freight 1-ton press, 2-ton press, I don't know. You know what? I always do it this way, but I think I want to put it on an angle, just to see if that helps me see better. I just thought of this just now. I haven't done this before. First time. What is going on? Well, that's not working. There we go. There we go. There we go. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to put this on an angle because I believe it'll help me. I've always done it like this, and then I'm having a hard time seeing around. But I'm going to put this on a 45-degree angle, thinking that's the right thing to do. If it's not, you guys will see it. And this is what you want to do, man. You want to try things every time. You know, try to figure out better ways to do things. I just feel like I'll be able to see. Oh, yeah, look at that. So what I want to do here is, oh boy, I'm off with that line for sure. There's no doubt about it. It's okay. So I'm going to eyeball this for straight. I'm trying to make this straight with the end here. Looks pretty good. And what I've discovered is that the scratch marks I made for my, that's it. That's all there is. Now I have a tool here. Best money ever spent for this craft. So now I can just do this and it comes right out. So yeah, it's okay. So the lines for my stitching are inboard of the two end holes. So when I go ahead and I start doing the length, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that, you know, normally the way you're supposed to do it is that should be dead center, but I made a mistake there, but it's okay. I'm just going to go, I'm going to start with Oh yeah, look at that. So we're going to go on the outside of the line, just right on the line, and that's it. And I have a technique where, you know, obviously you go in the last hole first, and then I'm gonna. This is so much better. I'm so happy I figured this out. When I get to the end, I'm not going to go around. I'm going to start over here again because I want these holes to be equal on both sides, and then I'll do the end, and I'll kind of eyeball that a little bit. Let's get you on the line here a little bit. And this is kind of close to the edge. I don't normally go this close to the edge, but I guess we'll see how this works out. Again, if I make a mistake, I just make another one. It's just a loss of time. So we're in this 2 hours so far, according to my watch. So I just learned something else here. Let's keep this right there. I went off a little bit here. It's okay. Look at that. So every once in a while you get lucky and it just lands just about right. No. So you see here, I didn't poke through. I just made a mark. You can see it, but a little too close to the edge. So I'm going to back up a hole. So it means 2 of these will go into 2 of the old holes here. Right there. We'll adjust this on an angle. There we go. And we're straightening that back out. All right. So what this means is that I won't have a hole directly in that corner. We'll get to that in a minute. Now I'm going to go on this side. I'm going to do this, stitch that side again. So these holes line up across the way here. Now a lot of guys would come in and move the camera. Matter of fact, I'll just do that for you. Let's give you a cool shot here, maybe. Of course, the camera is blocking my light. Alright, I think I'll move this one more hole. Now, the rest of this, I have a single hole punch and a double. So I'll make a determination which one I want to use next, and I'll swap those around and get that done. Alright, so I just made a determination that the 2-hole will work. So I'll let you watch me swap this out. You know what? I'm going to leave it in, and I'm going to do this strap first. Then I'm going to swap to this and finish it off. So you don't need to watch me put the holes in this, because you just watch me put the holes in that. I'll be with you in a moment. Okay, so I made a little bit of a mistake here. It's not the end of the world, but I'm not happy about it. I forgot. So you should always put, when you're doing this, you should start at the end that attaches to the spring bar in the watch case, and then work towards the outside. Unfortunately, I started at the buckle end. And what that means is I ended up, if you look here, you'll see a little white pencil line mark, and it's right in between the last two holes on that side there. Hope that is focusing. I'm barely catching the leather here, but that is angled a little bit, so it'll catch better as I go down. The problem is, it's not going to line up exactly. Well, you know what? It's off, but when it's on the wrist, you probably won't see it that much, but you can see here what's going on. So not super stoked about that, but it is my own. It's okay. You make the mistake. It's in your brain now, and I'm a lot less likely to make that mistake again in the future. But I'm going to keep working on that, and then we got to stitch it up. I still have a couple more hours of work here. Dressing the edges, stitching it. The stitching takes a while. It's a thing, man. All right, so I just took the time to skive down the keeper, and now I'm setting the size. I'm going to trim that. And I decided to do that. Normally I wait till I stitched everything and I make that last, but I have the press out and I figure let me do this while I'm here and show you. So I've already skived it to the thickness I desire. A little thicker than I normally do it, but it's nice. Something else I noticed is that these two are both the same size. So now I'll remember that. I'll remember that for the way I like to make my bands. This is the buckle one. I know that the next piece is roughly the same size as that, and that's what's going to work right on my wrist. Awesome. What a great thing to remember. I've done a lot of bands now, but I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to remember things. So what you want to do is you want to stack these. I don't know if the camera could show it. Maybe I'll try to do some close-ups after it's stitched. That sounds good. So the next thing is I take this here, and I've kind of squared one end off here pretty well. And I want to lay that on here relatively center. It doesn't matter too much, right? And then I want to hold this snugly, pretty tight. I got to trim that just a hair. There's a little bit of fuzz from the back side poking through. There we go. And I'm going to tightly wrap this leather. You want to make this as tight as you can because it will stretch later as you're using it. So get this nice and tight here. And I'm overlapping it. And then I'm going to mark that. It's the wrong tool, but it'll work. Okay, now trim that. And to trim, I got lines on this thing here. So I'm just laying this straight on a line this way, and I'm putting the mark on a vertical line. And then I just take this and line this up on the vertical line with the mark, and I know I'm going to get a square cut. Now I could prick some holes in here, wrap this over, and then I'll stitch that together, and I'll show you guys that when I'm doing it. But since I have this out, I was about to push this off to the side because I don't need it anymore, like I said. Let's prick some holes in this right quick. This has a loop on it, and I should just hang this somewhere so I don't risk breaking it. All right, let's just... Gosh. There we go. And I am eyeballing this. It's, doesn't have to be... It'll be fine. And this is a lot more than most people do. And most people would do a much narrower keeper. But, you know, it's the dive watch. It just goes to the whole aesthetic of being super tough. Like, I overstitch this, man, when I stitch it. So you'll do something like that. And I can show you right here. I end up really stitching the heck out of that when it's all said and done. So this is never coming apart, man. You know, this is, make it tough, man. You know, again, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to make my own bands was I bought some first. And I'm scratching the heck out of my work surface already. But I was just very not happy with the products I could buy online. They're just, you know, people, maybe they're out there and I just haven't found it yet. I was not able to find a heavy-duty version of anything I'm looking for. So necessity is the mother of invention. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to knock these edges down right now, and then I'm going to spend quite a bit of time with the emery board, cleaning it up, and then, oh no, I'm not done. Damn it, I put that away and I forgot. I'm going to put the two prick in there. And I'm going to finish the tip of this off. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to show you all that right now. I don't waste any more time on the film. But I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to dress these edges here, which I can do right now. I can show you this. Let's do that. Be a tight shot of this here. My hands will probably block it a little bit. Thought this thing wasn't running. All right. Now this is softer. Like a lot of people, this works great on veg tan, but chrome tan is a different thing. So I kind of do this, but then I use the emery board to, and I'll do this in both directions because it just, you know, it's just a thing, man. It's how I'm learning how to do it myself. And I'm not putting a lot of pressure on this. I'm letting the tool do the job. And you do have to sharpen these. There's a little pin I use with some sandpaper. And then I'll just take this emery cloth and I will run this along here, and I'll even everything out, and you'll see that. Dressing this edge is a thing, but let's get the stitching done first. All right, so I've been working on these and I haven't started stitching yet. What I've done is, you know, I've trimmed the edges and now I'm working this here with the emery board and just making it even, making it cool. And after we stitch, I'll be putting Token-All on this and dressing the edges all nice. But this is a process that takes some time. And right now it's almost 2:15, so we're about 3 hours into this project so far. And this is just what it is. You don't have to watch me doing this, but I just wanted to show you what I'm going through. This is how I'm doing it. Might not be what everybody else does, but it's what I'm doing. So, and this is the spot that I cut earlier. So I'll be able to trim that up a little bit and tune it right now, and it's going to go away and we'll never see it, especially once the Token-All goes on there. Kind of seals it all up. The Token-All is, it's just this Japanese product. I don't even know what the heck it's made out of. Does it have ingredients on this? It's all in Japanese. I guess you'd have to look it up. I don't even know what it is. But you put it on there and then you burnish it. I do it with a piece of leather. You'll see me do it. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing here. And then the next thing will be stitching. So I'll show you how I do that, and I'll run a couple minutes of me stitching, and then that'll be enough for this. And then I'll dress the edges, and then before you know it, this thing will be on my wrist. All right. I changed the angle here. Also, I had to take my mic off, so I hope you guys can hear me. And I hope you guys can see everything here. I'm probably cutting off my head or something. Doesn't matter. I'm going to show you what I do with this. Now, I don't know. I read somewhere or saw that you want to use 4 times the amount of the area on this. So, I don't know. How I do it is I do this here. That's 1, 2, and then a little bit more for the ends. So that's 1. So I go 2, pinch this. 3, pinch this. 4, and that should be enough thread to stitch this. More than enough. I usually have quite a bit left over, but you see how much thread is here, and it's not that expensive, this stuff. This is a waxed nylon woven thread. It's tough stuff, right? And I don't stitch the way everybody else stitches, but mainly because this stuff is just so thick. I use these thick needles, and I don't put them both in at the same time like you see the pros do. Because you can't. These needles, I'm using these fat needles, and they just don't fit through the holes. So I leave these threads on when I'm done because it helps me find the needles and pick them up out of the box. So I go through this little process here. And yeah, so I feed this through. Pull to about here, and then I just basically take the needle and I feed it right back through the thread. And I'll maneuver it a couple times, because what I'm trying to do is pierce the thread and have an equal amount on both sides. I hope that'll focus for you. Probably didn't, but then you pull that through. And that's it. So it's simple as that. And you put a needle on each end here. Obviously. Now, I taught myself how to saddle stitch just from watching some YouTube videos. But, you know, I'm not telling you I'm the best at it. That's good. That's it. Now, when I sew this, I start right about on one side where the buckle goes through, because I know when the buckle's on, it's going to cover that up. Because you have to overstitch a little bit so it doesn't fall apart. When I do the buckle side, I start stitching on the buckle end, because I know that this strap is going to go over it and you'll never see it. Right? Because I was starting up here, but then when you double stitch it, it just jumps out at you. Okay, so we're going to pick a side here. I'm just start over here. Get that pretty even. This thing here has magnets on the edges that stop the needle, which is pretty cool. This is just where I'm starting. And I almost forgot something else that I do that a lot of guys don't do is I've got these, cut these off a pair of gloves, but I put these on my fingers so that I can pull the thread without digging into my hands too much. So I pull that through. So the way I do it might be a little slower than some people, but this is just my method, all right? So I'll work my way all the way around on this, and then I'll hammer, take a hammer, and I'll tap on this to set the stitching flat. And then I'll take a lighter to it to melt it at the end after I cut the thread. And then I also hit the threads on the hole all across here with the lighter as well. Just briefly, it melts off the wax on it. but this is how it's going. And so I'm running out of battery, so I had to plug the phone is plugged into the charger right now, and I had to take the mic off. So you see what's happening here. You don't need to watch me do all this. I'm just going to get it done. Again, right now we are at 2:30, so it's been 3 hours and 15 minutes. Let's get her done. All right, so that's all stitched up there, and I'm so pro. You like the rocking motion? Make it a little sick to your stomach. So I stitched all the way around. Double stitched it here over a couple, like 2 or 3 stitches, and now I'm just gonna cut these free here and do what you see. I'm assuming if you're watching this, which is probably the wrong assumption. By the way, my name's Mike, in case you haven't been here before. I forget, you know, a lot of my followers are here. They see me do all kinds of things. They start watching, but a lot of you are going to be here and never watched me before. But yeah, you just melt this. It's, you know, basic. And that might kind of like pop up a little bit here and there, and it's okay. You could trim it again and melt it. But that's looking mighty nice. Don't just wait. It's okay. It's looking a little. By the way, this is a fine look. You can call this done at this point, but I am going to dress these edges. I'm also going to talk to you about what I do with black bands. So my next thing, let's stitch this one here. As I said, I like to start here on this. Let's go ahead and get the thread. I am sweating, man. We're going through a warming spell here. 1, 2, and a little bit more. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I might have went a little bit much on that, but that's okay, because last time it was cutting a little bit close. Anyhow, you already watched me thread the needles and do the stitching in the beginning on that. So I'm just going to go ahead and jump to this one, get this done. And then I'll stitch up the keeper. I'm going to dress the edges on this before I stitch it, so I'll show you that. And then we'll just keep going. That took a little while, I don't know, but it's 2:45 right now. Just keeping you guys apprised of the time, so you know how much. I have not taken any breaks other than to go to the bathroom once. Alright, so these are all stitched up. I'm going to put some Tokonol on the edge here and then stitch this up. And I figured maybe we could see that. I haven't looked at all the videos I've shot so far to see how long this video is going to be, so I hope it's okay. I hope it's not too tedious for you guys. Now, I always have some scrap around. Like, here's a piece that I skived off, so we'll use that for now. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I just dip it in here. It's too much. And then just rub it on here like this. Get it on the edge. Just start working it. On this, sometimes I do the entire interior, but at least I want to get a little bit in here. I let that sit a little bit, let that saturate, then I start working on the other side. And I'll come back and burnish it some more, obviously. It's a messy job. It's going to make your hands weird. It doesn't hurt you, you know. So you can get it all over the band. It doesn't really matter. It just gives a little sheen. But this has this compound, whatever it's made out of, with the heat from the friction, the burnishing that you're doing. Look, I've tried wood and everything on this bison hide, like burnishers. I've got a bone one that I've used before, and none of it worked. So I find that this gives me a better finish. Now, well, we'll get to this in a second. So, and sometimes I'll grab this piece of cotton too, and I'll do it with that. But the bottom line is, you just keep working this until you get it sealed and it's kind of shiny. Now, of course, I have to just keep dropping stuff. And you have to do this first on this. By the way, you just use the skin of your hands too. A lot of times I just finish it with that. This is a little flimsy, being that doesn't have any lining on it, and you're trying to make it thin. Like I said, I want to seal up the inside of this a little bit. It just makes putting the strap through it a little bit nicer. It doesn't want to bind from friction of the rough leather. It might give it like a little weather protection too, for all I know. You know, I don't know everything. That's right, I said it. And after this is sewn, I can still do this a little bit. I just like to, sometimes I forget to do this and I have to do it after I've sewn it. And it just makes it a little bit more tedious to deal with. But, which I'll probably do here. Anyhow, see how that's starting to look. Now, I don't know if I have enough thread on either of these. I'll pick the one that's longer. They're both exactly the same size. I suppose that makes sense. It'll be enough thread, I believe, to stitch this. Look, I'm not telling you that this is how you should do it. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. You know, I say that all the time in my videos. You know, I'm not an expert. This is just the way I've discovered doing it that works for me. I am low energy right now. I haven't eaten anything. I'm warm. I should have opened the windows here. Now, I'm not going to put this in the stitching pony, obviously. I'm just going to, because there's a weirdness about this that I want to explain to you. As you stitch it. Because what's going to happen is you're going to pull it together like this, right? So you don't want to go, you don't want to pull it overly tight, right? Because after it's stitched, you want to work this seam flat as you can. And I am not, there's ways you can make this look nicer and, you know, pull it through the underside, pull it over the top side. Just a little finger tight. I'm not going to go crazy. Trying to do this fast, which is probably a mistake. But I want to get this done for one thing. Get a little tired of working on it, to be honest with you. It's a long time to be sitting in one spot, you know. My body hurts a little bit because all week I've been working overhead on a ceiling. As some of you guys know that follow the channel. So I'm a little sore. As I mentioned last night, it was a late night of drinking. I just got a text from an old gal pal that wants to meet up tomorrow for a drink. So I'm like, oh. She said she wanted to get together, and I was like, okay. And I knew that that's what she was going to want to do. And I'm not up for it, but I'll meet her out and probably not have a drink. Okay, so we're getting close here, and now I'm going to come through here. I'm going to come through the inside, this last stitch here. I'm going to bring this one around. I'll do, oh, that's weird. That was a mistake. Doesn't really matter, I suppose. Yeah, let's pull this through. Let's pull this one back through. Is that right? Somehow I screwed up here, and see if we can fix it. Yep, I was supposed to go over this side. I cut it free. See what happens? Because now this line is so short, I don't think I'm going to have enough room to, yeah, This needle's too long. Well, I am not going to worry about this. I am going to pull that back through here. No. We are going to pull this through here. Shit. This is what happens when you're talking. I'm just going to come back underneath here. It doesn't really matter. This part of the whole project is like the kind of, at least once you get the thing right, you know, the thickness of this, you know, you're golden. All right, I'm going to tie this in a knot, although it doesn't really matter too much. Square knot, left over right, right over left. Sorry, I'm not being very entertaining right now. And then I'm going to come in here. I'm going to cut this. Weld that together a little bit. Now is where you gotta flatten this sucker out here. That's not bad. I'm tired. I'm tired of working on it. Boy, I'm probably cutting my head off and everything here. Okay, let's put the token. Well, I need the token. I'm not done yet. So my next step here is, yeah, I screwed that up. It's okay. It's mine. Doesn't really matter all that much. So now I have to, that part's done. Now I really should have a longer piece of leather here. Sorry about moving the camera. I know I had a good piece around here for this. I'm not going to go crazy looking for it because I'll just do it. Damn. It was a good little piece of leather. I prefer a stiff one. I made that joke with somebody the other day. I'm not going to, well, let's not go off color here. Let's, maybe I'll save that for tomorrow. Maybe I put it in here, probably not. Okay, let's just keep using this. So I'm not going to show you this whole process again. I'm just gonna, I will mention this when I do a black one, do a lot of black bands, you might, some of you who are thinkers are going to go, wait a second, how do you make your black band all black? Because it's lined with the brown on the bottom. So how do I get the edge all black? Well, I actually use a wood finish black marker. And I color it. And I let it dry. And then I do what I'm doing right now, where I add the tokenol, and it works out great every time. So I'm not buying any fancy dyes or anything. This is the part I dislike the most because I'm over it by now. I'm like, okay, I've spent, you know, it's exactly 4 hours right now of time sitting in this spot, just working on this. And I am over it, man. I am so over it. I want to get this one edge kind of dialed pretty good here, just so I could show you this real quick. Then I'll get the rest of it done. And then I'll put it on the watch, and we'll see it on the wrist. It'll be super duper cool, I promise. For those of you that are in this sort of thing. After I get it like this with that piece of leather, I'll try to find something that's a little drier so I can get more heat on it from the friction. And, you know, this becomes your dressed edge here. I hope that focuses for you. So let me do that all the way around here. Around here. Let's put it on the watch, get it on the wrist for you. You guys are you're gonna dig on it. There's your parts. Let's put this together, huh? Oh, this is exciting. Exciting. All right, let's put the buckle on here first. Oh, thought I was all done. Guess you're gonna watch me do this now. Just got a token all. just a little spot in here. Just a little bit in here, right where the buckle goes, just to dress it so it looks finished. Let's see. Well, I guess I put things away already. And all right. Okay. Just fold this over. Get that to fit in there. And I jumped the gun, so it's another, what, 30 seconds of me doing something else I didn't want to do yet. Oh, and like I said, you could use your fingers on this, and I might add, I find that sometimes, like the next day, I want to add a little more Tokonol to the edges, which is fine. And I'll keep doing, I'll use the oils off my face on these when I first put them on there. And I also went ahead and I hammered out, you know, the threading, you know, did what you need to do. Okay. Oops, almost forgot the keeper. Let's get the keeper on there. It's looking good, man. I mean, this is looking pretty pro. I was also able to straighten out that line a little bit on there. Cheated a little bit, so it looks a lot better. It was actually this one. So we're good. We're good. You know, I have this, you know, you guys use the word perfectionist with me a lot. And, you know, I suppose, maybe, but I'm not that hung up on perfection. I'm just challenging myself to always do the best that I am capable of. Anything less, you know, means you're half-assing it. If you're going to do something, always try to do it to the best of your ability. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing? What are you doing, man? So we had some Tokonol poke through here. I'm so excited about this. Let's do it this way. Come on. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Let's see if it worked. Now, I mean, things could have stretched out a little bit. You know, like I said, I suspect I might have to put another hole on here. I'm going to give you guys some glamour shots at the end of this video on the wood here. But let's go ahead and... well, I got 4 watches here with bands I made. This is the one I was wearing. It's my 2 orange face. This one here is from 1983, and this one here, I mentioned it earlier. I don't remember. I think this one here is 2017, most likely. Oh, no, I believe this is, oh yeah, 2017 maybe. It could be 2007. That could be 2007. I forget. And of course, the Willard reissue. And I'm going to make another brown one for this. I might even, you know what? Let's put this on the wrist and then put it on this watch too, just to see what that looks like. I like the contrast of it right here against the denim shirt that I'm wearing. Oh, this leather is amazing. Really, I'm telling you, this bison hide, it's just so supple. Zero break-in period. It's already supple. Now, okay, this is the tightest I've ever made one of these. I might have to work it a little bit more. Let's just work that real quick. I have no idea how long this video is, so I hope you guys aren't too bored. Stretch that out just a hair. I'm so excited, and I just can't fight it. Man, that was probably terrible lighting on the top of my head, huh? Jeez. Like this one? Let's, okay, come on. Come on. Come on, I know you can do It'll work. It's gonna work. There we go. The trick with this one's going to be when I put it on to make sure the keeper is higher up in that way. So we see there. Oh man, dude. Now something you guys nobody's mentioned, but the dragon, which is the green dragon on my arm, which is where the colonists met in Boston, right? The Sons of Liberty. For those of you that don't get it. And you see here the mouth is always going after the watch. Nobody's ever mentioned that before, but that's what's happening. So how badass does that look? All right, man, that is tough. Let's put this band on. Is this crazy? Let me stop the camera. I'm going to put this watch on it as well to see what it looks like, because I suspect that blue is going to really pop with the brown. And then we'll put them down here on the wood for some parting shots for you. Dun, 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 dun. What the? Come on, man. I mean, the turtle? Holy cow. Let me get some more light on this here. The mic is not spun around the phone, so you might not hear me that well. But oh my God, the turtle looks awesome. Right? 7 5/8, 7 3/4 inch wrist. Probably 7 3/4 right now. It's kind of warm today. The turtle is stupendous. Stupendous on the brown leather. Wow, yes. Good buckle too. Oh my God, this I've been wanting to wear the turtle more. The turtle's so beat up, it's actually a pretty decent work watch for me. I don't want to wear this one to work. I really care about it. So, but oh my God, you know what this means? You know what this means? It means I got to spend another. So let's see, 4 hours and 20 minutes. Well, I was done. We'll just call it 4 hours. It takes 4. That's what I said before, but now I know for sure because I timed it here. So 4 hours, man, to make one of these watch bands start to finish. And that's with going through a little bit of leather, picking them, you know, thinking about what you want to do first, mapping it out in your brain. That's like 20 minutes, you know, max 15 maybe. And then boom, you get to work. And it was nonstop, you know, like I said, other than going to the bathroom. And it's just, so let me clean this up a little bit and then show it to you on the wood. I think you guys will appreciate that. So here it is on the turtle, the blue turtle. And you guys have seen it already, but I'm going to put it on the SKX 173 here in a minute. I just wanted to show that to you. Let's put it on this. Don't go anywhere. Just take a sec. Before I take it off, or, you know, take this watch off this band, man, look at that. The turtle case is just so cool. It's just an iconic design, you know. Turn this light up a little. I would say that you know, this is a success. You guys can tell me. I'm very, very proud of this. Let's go ahead and see if I can do this on camera. I don't do this very often, so bear with me. I can't see because the camera is very high. It's above my head, but I wanted to see if I can do this and see, review the video. And the nice thing about the turtle, it has these drilled lugs here. Makes removing the band much easier. Try to not block the camera with the top of my head. I'm thinking about you guys, what you can see. There we go. Hope this is on. Oops. Just looked up at the camera. I hope this is all, oh, come on. This is all on screen. Of course, it looks phantasmic with the black. And you can see, normally when you buy a band, the buckle end is much shorter. But I just don't. I guess it's for people with smaller wrists. I don't know. I don't know what else to say, but they just never fit on me right. And once again, this is why I have to make my own stuff, right? There we go. This is working out nicely now. I have to tell you, I mean, I love this too. I think that this works very well on the brown. And I do like it, and it's going to live on here. I will make another one, I suppose, for the turtle, because let's face it, the turtle looked really, really good on it. Matter of fact, I might just go ahead and, geez, I cannot make up my mind. I guess that's what I'm going to think about. Anyhow, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. You guys have seen all these before, and I threatened I was going to do one of me making one, and that's what I just did. So, there we go. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and got something out of it. You know, maybe this will motivate you to make your own watch band. I believe you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm nothing special. I'm just a guy that is weird. So I can't help myself. If you want it done right, do it yourself. Have a great day. Be kind to one another. Thanks again for being here. Tell your friends. And I'll catch you in the next one, which will be tomorrow, Sunday Night Chat.